Hello, we are live. My name is Lee Matthew Jackson, and please let me know. Again, I'm experimenting with the sound, so I need to know if you can hear me. So let me know in the comments if there are any problems. Also, let me know, do you hear this when this happens? Well, that was right at the very end of the music, although in a second it's going to carry on. Hang on. 3, 2, 1. Not going to carry on. It's on loop, but that's fine. We'll come back to that in a second. Right, folks, today let's talk about our gut feeling. Let's take a look, make sure the comments are okay. Hear you fine, and the intro. The audio is good. It's awesome. Ah, nice one. Thanks, mate. Right, brilliant. Let's carry on. So, let's pretend and let's start over. Hang on. Yeah, okay, that's good. And let's check that level. There we go. Oh, that's how I do it. Wait. Okay, right, that was fun. Let's talk about our gut feeling. Let's start over. Hey, we are live. My name is Lee Matthew Jackson, and today I want to talk about your gut feeling. Now, we've all had those situations where we've had a terrible client experience. Our client has been awful. The project's been really unprofitable. Maybe the relationship has become ridiculously toxic. And you look back and you ask yourself, why? Why did I go for that client? Why did I not listen to my gut feeling? I imagine in most of those circumstances, there was something inside of you that said, this is not the right project for us. This is not the right client for us. And yet, for whatever reason, you still went for it. You went for it knowing that your gut was telling you, I don't really think we should go for this, but the money, but the business needs, but paying staff, all of these things that are vying for your attention, all of that pressure that is on you as an agency owner. You still have to meet the bills. You still have to pay the tax man. You still have to pay the rent. You still have to pay staff. You still need to put food on the table. And when you have these gut reactions towards potential clients, it's very easy to do two things. Number one, completely ignore them. Or number two, react all the time to your gut feeling and never actually take on a client. That's the two worst extremes. So in today's episode, I want to help you to look at your gut feeling and be a little bit more stoic about the whole situation. You can look at your gut, you can work out whether or not there are certain warning signs, and equally, you can compare that with your emotional and mental well-being, and then come up with some form of answer, whether you feel you should be pursuing this relationship any further. Let's go through the framework, and trust me, I've got a framework for everything. Even what I do in the morning. Maybe I should share my breakfast routine with you as well sometime. But anyway, but there is a framework for this. This is how I work through my gut feeling. And the first thing I do before I've ever worked through any gut feeling is this. I need to write down what are those common signs. I've talked about this in previous live streams, but there are a whole load of things that you would recognize instantly in a potential client that would be a warning sign, a flare. Pardon me. So, for example, I've mentioned in the past for myself is if the client says, and I expect, there are certain phrases that they might use, or if they are asking for answers instantly, or if they are expecting the world, or if they're disrespecting the processes and procedures that I need to go through, or if they're haggling on price, or there's all sorts of warning signs for me that make me wonder whether or not this client is a right fit. And some of those are ridiculously obvious. Some of them are picked up, however, by those subtle emotional cues. And it's very hard to be able to define those. But I would recommend you write down all of the really obvious signs that this relationship may not be for you. And you can do that by looking at all of the past clients and say, right, well, this relationship that broke down, I had the following feelings, the following signs were, and that will help you build up that list so that when you start to see those signs, you can start to score the client or try to score the client against those tried and tested signs, those signs that you know you've had a bad experience, and those were the signs. Okay? So that's the first step. Next, with the new conversation, the new relationship that you are building up, this new project, the new client, whatever that is, write down your current concerns. You've already created your list kind of separately to all of this of what are the warning signs. This has been done based on all of your previous history, and you now have some sort of checklist that you can then take a new project to and go, okay, I've got a few concerns about this client. I noticed they talked over me a little bit. I noticed that they were demanding a feature that didn't exist. I noticed that they said something like, I expected it to work like so on and so forth. Those for me are in a recent conversation that I had, and they were things that were all warning signs to me that I could go and take and look at my previous documentation, the documentation I've created that says these are the flares, these are the warning signs, these are what your gut is usually telling you. And I'm then able to take those and take a look and say, okay, yep, that's on there, and that's on there, and that's on there. That's a little bit of a worry. This is something I really need to think about now. So that's a very healthy exercise to do, is to acknowledge that your gut is telling you something. And I would say something that may or may not be controversial, but your gut is not necessarily right, nor is it necessarily wrong. You need to come up with a balanced decision. So that first step of taking the current concerns, putting them down on paper, and then comparing them with the gut feelings you've had, the experiences that you have had across all of your projects in the past. Next, you need to consider your current emotional state. When I had the meeting that I just referenced with regards to a few things that were mentioned, and I was, a bit defensive, I felt a little bit annoyed and frustrated by the whole experience. I needed to also look at my current emotional state. I knew that before that meeting, I'd actually had a very busy day. I'd had a run-in with a family member. I had a lot of pressure on me. I was feeling tired. I was feeling impatient. And I then looked at the meeting, looked at my attitude towards the meeting, and also reminded myself, I record all my meetings, so I actually watched back this particular meeting to see whether or not the person was really speaking in the divisive, attacking, negative way that I had instantly picked up on. And they weren't. In that scenario, my defensiveness, my tiredness, my exhaustion, the pressure that I was putting on myself as a business owner, the book rests with me, everybody relies on me, I need to do all things, you're attacking me, all of that sort of stuff, all of that negative emotion, etc., was all bundled up inside of me to the point where I was projecting what was going on inside of me at clients or potential clients who were actually asking perfectly legitimate questions based on information I'd given them in the past. I was projecting all of that on them, and I was misrepresenting that as my gut feeling. That's where we need to be careful. You have your gut feeling. Your gut is usually always right. But remember, there is also an emotional reaction. There's also something going on inside of you that shouldn't be misconstrued necessarily for your gut. Remember, the gut is more likely picking up on those unconscious social cues, etc., rather than necessarily the way people are speaking or certain things that they are saying. I don't know if that makes sense. I hope it makes sense. I don't know how to outwork what goes on in my head with regards to that. I have a gut feeling about someone. And then if I come back to it and try and take myself out of the emotional state, I acknowledge the emotional state I'm in and then look back at it, I can then really say, okay, is this client really a potential jerk and someone that I don't want to work with, or was I projecting? And very often the client was a jerk, and that's fine. Your gut is very often right. And yet, do be careful. Do look at your current emotional state, your past projects, your history, what is going on in your life, what you have coming up in the future, and just try and work out, is this an emotional reaction? Am I projecting my crap on other people? Or is this actually a real gut reaction? Is this really something that is a problem? You see, I've fired before I've even started projects. I've fired potential clients because of the gut feeling. And yet with hindsight, with wisdom, as I look back over the years, I still know some of those people and they're actually really nice. and they've actually gone on to work with other companies and had very successful projects and been great to work with. So my gut was definitely wrong in those scenarios. What I'd gone from doing was ignoring my gut to trusting my gut, and then getting confused between my gut and my emotions and my projections and all of the crap that we carry with us in our day-to-day mental selves. I'm not saying we're mental, I just mean our mental health. Next, once you've done that, sanity check it with others. Have a conversation with other people. So if you've got your original list of these are my warning signs, then get your list of these are the signs that I've picked up from this scenario, this conversation, this project. These, I think, are my gut, and these ones are, I think, probably more of an emotional projection. Based on this information, I think I'm going to dip my toe in the water with the client and try the next phase, like just the discovery phase. Or I'm going all in with this client, or I think based on this, there's enough here to say, step back and don't work with this client. Once you've gone through that process, you want to sanity check that with someone else, someone who is outside of it, someone who knows you well enough, whom you can explain your thought process and what you're thinking of doing, and they will be able to ask you questions that you had never considered. And they will also be able to see whether or not this is just a gut reaction out of stress and out of everything that's going on in your life. I'm so grateful to have Tim Davis. He's my business partner over at Event Engine. And often I'll be ready to fire a client because of my emotional response rather than my gut feel. And he'll be able to talk me down and to help me understand that I'm leading from a place of exhaustion, a place of pressure, and I'm now projecting past clients and history and my hurts and everything on this new individual. And again, on the flip side, I've had a gut feeling about certain potential relationships or certain projects, and I've been able to mention that to Tim and to be able to share why based on previous experiences. And likewise, we've been able to talk about both sides. He's actually talked me into staying with particular clients who've turned out to be wonderful. Likewise, I've talked him out of potential terrible business relationships. And it's very, very useful. If you don't have a business partner, at least have someone else who knows you well enough and you can talk this through. And then finally, you want to make that informed decision and decide, am I going to go with this person? So let me try and do a quicker recap, because I think sometimes that helps people understand the information. So way in advance of any of these scenarios, you really need to give yourself some time aside, maybe set half an hour aside, look at some past projects, things that went wrong, and write down all of the warning signs that you feel you have with a client. In fact, if you watched a previous live stream of mine where I talked about something similar, you should have already done this. What are the warning signs? What are those flares that go off? Phrases, way they talk, whatever that is. What are those things that happen that get your little gut going, I'm not sure about this relationship? And you can do that based on all of the past horror shows that you may or may not have had. Next, write down your current concerns about the project that's happening right now, the call you've just had that's made your gut start to go, I'm not sure. So write down what those things are that you're not sure and compare them against that original list. Score it. 2 out of 5 of them are on my gut, so what are all these other things? Let's have a think about this. Next, consider your current emotional state. Make sure you're not projecting past crap and stuff you're dealing with on other people, because that's not your gut. That's actually that's your emotions. That's everything else that's going on. And we really need to be careful that we're not dropping valuable potential clients or projects. And equally, we need to make sure we're not taking them on as well, out of the emotional fear as well that's going on in there. Sanity check what's going on in our head with other people before we make that final decision, and then, of course, make that informed decision. And I would say own that decision as well. I know I fired clients in advance of a project based on a gut feeling and probably shouldn't have in hindsight, but hey, I've got to own it. That's a mistake I made, and I've learned from it. So I'm good. I hope that helps. Let's take a look at the comments. Let's play some music as well. Oh, that worked. In theory, I think it's this one. If you've got headphones on, that should be going into your left ear. And then if you've got headphones on, I'm going to put that into your right ear now. Which also means that I could, in theory, whisper in your ear if you've got headphones on. This is really weird right now. I don't know if that worked, but that was fun. Right, let's take a look. through our comments. Right back at the beginning, people were telling me that the sound is awesome, so thank you very much, Anastasios. We have Matt saying yep, 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 and yep. Music doesn't count if you don't dance. I just don't dance, Matt. It's music. I have a gut feeling this live is going to be great from Mel. I hope you're all right, Mel. I hope I did not let you down. With pens, there is my pen. I've been using this one all day. In fact, I had to fill it up halfway through a meeting, and I got ink all over my hands. That's been said twice. I got it backwards. I'm having a tug feeling. Don't get that one. Bonus burps. That's when I burped. Right, let's have a read of this one. Matt Davis says, most people get defensive when clients tell them they've done something wrong or dislike an element. Pretty natural human reaction. It is. And it's also a natural human reaction, isn't it, for us as suppliers when a client or potential client questions something that we say, and that we think is our gut feeling, when sometimes it's just, again, our emotions, our pride, all of that mixed up in there, and we're projecting it against them. Your gut is always right, says Matt. My gut says you've eaten too many sausages again, Matt. About that, what is it with like Domino's pizza and stuff like that, where you know you're full and you know that if you eat any more you're going to be ill, but you still do it, and then you feel ill and you feel really annoyed with yourself? Anastasia says, that checklist just went into my to-do list for the weekend. A great exercise. It is, mate. So look at all those past projects, those past clients, those past experiences, and write down what all of those warning signs were. What were those warning signs for those projects that went wrong, or for those clients who turned out to be absolutely crackers? Because that's going to be your list you're going to be scoring people against in the future. Sanity checking others with key. Male Fallon says, sanity checking with others is key. The gut reacts to what the eyes perceive. So having different perspectives is vital to making the right choice. You know what? I've realized I think I can switch to having my logo just down there by pressing a button. I'm having so much fun with the tech. I've bought myself a Stream Deck. I've got an It's a Q502 USB mini sound mixer, and I'm also using multiple virtual cameras to do stuff. Let's have a look at this. Matt Davis, my son is a web designer and he uses Wix. I check everything with him. That's a warning sign for your list. Owning is key from Nick. Owning when it's the right move to do. You get rid of the potential bad client. No need to worry about it. Absolutely own those decisions. Matt says, excellent live video. Keep your gut healthy with some friendly bacteria. This is not sponsored by Yakult. Folks, thank you so much for spending some time with me. I'm a bit later today because I just wanted some lunch, and also I'm just slowly pushing the time to see who shows up. Thank you to all of the old favorites like Matt, like Nick, like Mel. Thank you, Anastasios, for coming in and supporting. Thank you as well, mate, for your retweet, your tweet the other day. Keep on tweeting out. If you're watching this, folks, on the replay, I would ask you two things. Number one, share this with as many people as you can share, because this is great information and they can learn from it. And I also want to grow my reach. And secondly, what's secondly? What was I secondly going to do? Oh, yeah, follow. Like, subscribe if you're on YouTube. I'm on Twitch now as well. So if you're on Twitch, hi, start chatting as well. Going to do some other stuff on Twitch at some point. We need to talk to Matt about that one. Let's end on a pen. This is the pen. Thanks, folks. Have a wonderful day. Thanks for hanging out. Hey, remember, have a wonderful day. And if you can't be good, hey, be careful.